topics also. So, Claire, my first guest on um, Solo Week in Review. So, I'm sure everyone is familiar with Claire, but if you want to quickly introduce yourself, and you just mentioned like Claire, I also just like Jennifer met on the Babs cast, and interesting, intelligent woman, um, in her own way, sound controversial, and has her own ideas that she pushes. That secular cronyism, and I actually think I'm the first person who interviewed her on secular cronyism, so people could check out that interview. But she has also became a prolific streamer, streaming often. She's hit over 1,000 subs, and she's all over the place. And maybe we'll talk about this Jacob Fatucci or Federucci and these streamers that you're been following or coming into conflict or just streaming in general. So if you want to introduce yourself, and then like I said, I'm going back to week in review. So just kind of where you're holding, what you plan on doing, a lay down of what streams you're going on or ideas you're thinking on and doing in the future, and try to keep it moving because I want to focus more on advancing research. And if you do have research to advance or things to report, that's fine.
Yes, I do have quite a few things to say because a lot of things have happened this week. So this morning I woke up and discovered that Faturechi had.
Did you want to introduce yourself first, just in case people have no idea who you are? Like, I have new subs.
Oh, well, I thought you'd introduced me already. So basically, I'm promoting a moral and legal political system called secular Quranism based on the Quran. I'm basically proposing it as a replacement for Christo-liberalism, which I think has failed in the West. But I think most Westerners are in denial, and changing your religion is always follows after a traumatic experience. And I suppose being a traumatic experience, people are in denial that Christo-liberalism has failed. And these people on Faturechi's channel are mostly, post-Christian or trying to remain Christian, but finding
anyone listening to me has no idea who any of these people are you're mentioning. So if you're going to mention names, you give a precursor, like who they are or how you know them.
Yes, Faturechi is a channel by a Jew called owned by a Jew called Jacob Faturechi. I discovered him through Googling Michael Servetus, who was a Spanish doctor and theologian who was burnt at the stake at the behest of John Calvin. And that was how I discovered him, that he had done a video about that. I noticed that this is, of course, something that Calvinists prefer to forget about. And so we got talking. I was on his channel, he was on mine, but eventually our relationship deteriorated into...
he seemed actually similar to me, like an independent Jewish scholar who does interfaith. In that sense, he seemed very similar to me, that like he's making independent Jewish scholarship videos and interfaith activity.
That's right. So he does speak Hebrew. He does teach Hebrew even to Christians. And what's interesting about him is that he does deny the Trinity. So this is something that we are both agreed on, that the Trinity is idolatry. But I suppose he puts it more gently to his Christian associates who take it better from him, I suppose. I mean, every now and then he mentions it again. Well, my position is more emphatic, shall we say. My position is that if God exists, he would be hopping mad at Christians who've been practicing their idolatry for nearly 2,000 years, and he would also be hopping mad at Jews who haven't challenged them about it, and also Muslims who have been commanded to admonish those who claim that God has begotten a son. And if things are going wrong, I suggest that it is to do with the open idolatry of Christians and the hidden idolatry of Jews and Muslims. As you would expect, my message is not being particularly well received.
So, would it be fair to say that, maybe you found him, you started talking with him, and he found points of agreement with you, like anti-Trinitarianism or your certain philo-Semitic tendencies you have, and then he looked more into you and found your affiliation with the Radical Society and David Irving and the pictures, God forbid, with you and the Nazi flag, and then turned against you, or if it was related to you, keep on pushing secular Quranism, and he got, or various Noahide things, and he just like didn't want to hear it anymore, and then turned against you. And I guess he has a video that he made, like, who is Claire Khaw?
5 hours of it, yes.
That is kind of like warning people of how dangerous you are. And I mean, but originally you had some friendly relation. Then I guess he looked into some of your affiliations, and then I guess if you kept on pestering of him with things he didn't want to be pestered about, that he turned against you.
I'm actually not quite sure when exactly he found out about the flag and the gun photos, but they've been around for a long time. I think he knew it before he appeared on my channel, or when I appeared on his.
Was it still like you kept on pestering him and he turned against you, or is there an actual event that caused him to turn against you, or he didn't necessarily turn against you?
Really pester him about anything. I think he just found my position I took on the Trinity. I don't know. I think he felt he had to protect his Christian associates whose feelings might be hurt, or something of that nature. But he every now and then would point out the idolatry of the Trinity.
You say the more explanatory. So presumably you find him, you talk to him, he's on your channel, where you are on his channel.
Yes, we have been on each other's channels.
And he's got a group of people. Yeah, you've been mentioning to him like a year. Whenever I checked his channel, I think I saw the video, but the other day was the first time I actually popped into his channel. And then you start talking to some of the other people that he speaks to. I don't know if you're reaching out or if you're tagging them on Twitter, or you just kind of like networking that he was on your channel, so a lot of his people are watching your channel, or if you kind of network into his circles, and then he gets scared to see that you start becoming friends with his friends, and then he starts getting scared, or like Paul Vander Klay, if that's the name of all of a sudden, like you're on his channel, he sees you there, and then he's like, no, like I cannot have her moving into my circles, and he tries to put a stop to it. If and we talked about the stream the other day, if he's even unsuccessful, I mean, is that fair to say that he found you, and then also talking to people that he knew and circles that he felt he was part of before and you weren't, and he started getting nervous and wanted to put a stop to it?
Well, it's very hard to tell with Jacob. He is, I think, suffering from histrionic personality disorder, because he doesn't need to catastrophize everything.
Well, I'm not looking for psychoanalysis. I'm looking for an order of events.
Well, he does catastrophize.
Why he felt like that, or why he did it, but just saying that some sort of history of the relationship of what happened, without an explanation of why it happened.
I have already explained it, in that he dislikes the emphatic position that I take on the Trinity, and for some reason he finds it threatening, even though it is also his position, which is
that's your disagreement, saying that he disliked. I mean, that he found worrisome that you were, so to say, moving into his circles, and that you were appearing on panels that he was part of. And then he got worried about you, so to say, like infiltrating what he would call infiltrating circles, and wanted to put a stop to you entering circles that he was part of, and so to say, to warn his friends, like, okay, I'm streaming on Week in Review now, and like, like I'm a bigger name in streaming than Claire, so there could be people that never heard of Claire and now they heard of you, and
Well, only because,
next thing you know, you're talking to my friends, and then I'm saying like, oh, like, okay, like I was talking to Claire, but like I have to warn you. So I'm just trying to some sort of logistical understanding of the origins of your dispute, that he's trying to protect, so to say, his circles, and to prevent you from moving into circles that he's part of.
Well, it's only on his channel anyway, and he does let me on from time to time. So I don't know what the big deal is. It's very hard to read, Jacob, because it's fundamentally emotional and irrational. So I only recently appeared on Paul Vander Klay's channel, and where he said, oh, she was perfectly lovely. She didn't give any trouble. That was on a Good Friday, and before that, relations had soured, I suppose you could say, but that was nothing to do with me, trying to infiltrate his circle. I merely tried to get on his channel, and he just got a bit hysterical about it, and he had to say all those things about me, while
You
not
joined
giving
his
me.
Discord. Is that what happened? You joined his Discord, and then he decided to kick you out of his Discord.
I am still in his Discord.
You're the one who
He
sent me. I only know about him through you, and you're the one who sent me that thing on Friday, where like the whole stream was about you, and whether you should be expelled or not. Which so I only know about that because you told me about it. So I'm trying to make sense of that.
Yes, well, I'm still on his Discord, so I've been given my own channel, or kind of isolated with all kinds of restrictions put on, and called what's this Jewish term, Hebrew term? He calls me I forget the term now, Ilim or something like that, meaning I don't know, something like that. And he's got this sort of hierarchy of moderators, and we get friendly, no hide. And he's basically put me in a channel called Persona Non Grata. We'll just to otherize me, but yes, people do still talk to me because I've been made into an object of curiosity. So I don't. I mean, he does react in a very, in my view, emotional way. I mean, the quickest thing he could do is simply to ask me questions, get me to explain myself, and deal with me that way. But that's too straightforward and too undramatic for him. So
It seemed kind of odd. I mean, honestly, like I saw the stream and I saw John Vance there, who had also been a Week in Review many times, and even on my channel, and I thought like I'd hop on and talk to Jacob, maybe. But then I got there, and even Paul, like, I was busy, but they're talking about cults, so I was like, okay, like Claire, you introduced me first, and maybe I'll pop on their channel, just like John Wolf, who introduced me to allegedly Amsi, and then we so to say successfully been streaming together. But then I got there, so I missed John because I was going to go out for the chess, and then it turned out it was canceled. But if I'd known, like I could have hopped on and John, and maybe we've had a good conversation. Then when I got back, you sent me this link of Jacob, and then when I got in, they're bashing you. So like I thought maybe I'd hop on and say like hi to Jacob, but then I got there and it was like some sort of like special session on bashing. So then I'm there in the chat like defending you because they're just trying
yes,
to.
thank you for that.
And I don't know if that before you knew beforehand that the stream was going to be about bashing you or trying to uh, recommend people not speaking to you, or you didn't even know that beforehand.
I didn't really know, but I could just tell from the tone,
When I saw John,
this,
John was on
the community, our community is being attacked. And I just had an idea that it was about the previous stream. And basically, it wasn't even me, that there was some guy called Tyler who basically denounced me, and said he'd been following me around for years and I'd never come across him before. And he just went on, and then he denounced a few other members as well, and that annoyed other people. And basically, well, Jacob should know something about Lashon Hara, which is all he does the whole time. The term that he otherized me in his Discord server is Lilim. Are you familiar with that term?
not from the way you're saying it.
Lilim, Lilim.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound familiar, but
Okay, but anyway, it just means evil person. There's somebody else in that kind of naughty corner. But he likes these hierarchies. He likes to fuss around and organize, his groups.
Is there an actual community? Like I was mad, it was probably like the Jen Bailey drama, and you said, well, there's a community of people who follow Jen Bailey and find it interesting, and there's people who actually know her or interaction, and there's people who just follow it and then gossip about what they think about what's going on or report on it. But I don't know if it's actually a community. It's just like a common interest. If you're saying, is there actually like a community? I'm not even sure. Like, okay, like I would even consider myself, you could call the term like the Luke Ford community, but I don't think.
Well, that's really what he calls his thing. He calls it, our community, and that I am attacking it, that I am destroying it. And I thought, what the hell have I done? Except,
What is the community of, as I'm trying to legitimate if there's actually a community of saying there's like a group of friends that talks and uses the tech, like if it was a Zoom call or something where, okay, like I'm out here on YouTube and I have the link in the chat and I'm willing to talk to anybody. I'm trying to, get more subs and reach out into bigger circles versus like if it was like a Zoom call or something that you just not really public, but it's semi-public, and then someone's like breaking in, or if it's kind of like, well, I want to put myself, I want to meet a certain type person, and yeah, but it was a little bit confusing because it looked like you had like people that knew each other, had been talking with each other, and so it was a little bit confusing. And then I guess Paul was somewhat defensive of you if he was trying to convince Paul, like, that you're bad and he shouldn't have interaction with you. And Paul seemed somewhat defensive and even said, well, a lot of people say that about you too. And, then Paul was talking about the nature of churches. And I was thinking, like, I've done a lot of works in synagogues, and you've got like bottom feeding, even like the Hare Krishnas or various networks. You might want to get like elites. You might want to start an organization, but usually it's lowly people in distraught, bad situation. There's a verse in Bhagavad Gita or something like that. The type people who come on to Krishna, but it's usually people who are in bad situations. So if you have like at the downtown synagogue when I was promoting there, like occasionally some wealthy pastor, beautiful women, but most of the people who came in there were kind of like distressed and in bad situations. They're coming there because they need help. I mean, so Paul, if he's a preacher,
he's a pastor. He's a Calvinist pastor. Paul Vander.
So that would make sense to me, that like the majority of the people that come into his church are probably like distraught and is saying like, oh, well, she's troubled, therefore you should like try to exclude her, and be like, well, that's not really the way it works. And even it's like, okay, like Duvid worked at synagogues and rabbis, and there's some elite rabbis, but I was specifically a volunteer at Shomer Shabbos in Borough Park, but that was the synagogue of last resort. God forbid, that was the place where people had got kicked out of every other synagogue. Homeless people, people came in just for food. People who had, God forbid, and there were some other synagogues, like institutes. Okay, they try to, but I mean, as far as I know, every synagogue that I know of, every church that I know of, usually technically has like some sort of everybody's welcome. And if it's in America where things are divided, social, economic, so where I live if there's a place of worship, um, most of the people who live in the neighborhood is socioeconomically divided, but generally their charter is that they're open to anybody, and if you're in a place in um, a mixed area, like you're going to assume that it's going to be more of people in distress and need that are going to come to your institute than so to say like elites or something like that. So the kind of like gatekeeping didn't make that much sense to me. I think Paul was yeah, I'm not sure if you have a take on that, if you agree with what I'm
Well,
saying,
yes,
that
they all seem very neurotic to me, because I I guess after how I was treated by Jacob, I began to take an interest in his dreams, and occasionally I would post it, in the live chat, and even appear. I mean, to his credit, he allowed me to appear, and then I suppose he regretted it, and I suppose he sensed that people wanted to hear more. Um, and then I would appear, and then I guess they would regret it, and then they would denounce me, and I thought, well, really, the grown up way to do it would be just to ask me questions and allow me to answer them without be constantly distracted by all these asides about what a terrible person I was, and and what destruction I could wreak on their community of vulnerable people. But I don't know if you
there's a way to
listened
say
to.
like you're not wanted here, if the sense like okay, like God forbid, people. I mean, so if you're religious, okay, like I believe in providence, and you take like some sort of sign of God, who the people God sends my way. But if you're trying to form some sort of organization or friendship, and he's like you're not wanted here, and get the hint, um, but you can't really force that. So if like you have groups of friends and you don't like somebody, but then all of a sudden they start appearing as friends with your friends, and you start making like ultimatums, and like certainly like I think God forbid the rise in anti-Semitism is somewhat related. So if he's really gatekeeping anti-Semitism, that's his main worry, is that he wants to gatekeep anti-Semitism, and that's the main reason he wants to worry about people, but that's not the words he's using. But
I don't think his problem with me is anti-Semitism. He's sort of taken a kind of mother hen like persona over his confused Christians who
now, even his claims that he thinks you're like an agent of the Chinese Communist Party or something
yes,
like
yes, and basically, accusing me of working for George Soros or the security services, and basically accusing me of all the things that anti-Semites would accuse Jews of. He chose to accuse me of all those things, and um,
that. Even to me, that I mean, if he just said like, if you were to accuse you of, from his perspective, being an unpleasant person, like Luke Ford or something, he's like, well, I find you unpleasant, and I come and stream to feel better about myself and meet up with people that I like, and I don't really like you, so you mind? I'm going to ban you, and like you said, like Jen just banned you, like she just blocked you, and if you showed up, she blocked you again, and for whatever reason, she found you unpleasant. She didn't want to deal with you, so she just blocked you. And like if you showed up in the periphery of all of a sudden, like now you're friends with her friends, and you don't have to deal with that. Uh, but I mean, that seems semi-natural. Just saying, okay, whatever reason, like I don't really like you, and I don't
and,
want
and,
you
and
around.
and you would wish that our circles didn't meet. Yes.
I mean, if you're in certain social circumstances, it's very difficult to try to gatekeep. Like you're at a synagogue and like, oh no, this person showed up, like I don't want this person showing up, and so it's either me or them. So either I have to,
Move to another
God forbid,
synagogue.
yeah, I have to, God forbid, try to get this person excluded from the community, or I'm going to have to leave the community. And but that would be normal social dynamics.
But the thing was that was what they were discussing in their last video, because this Shari was basically saying, exclude her, ban her, do it now, and Jacob was saying, no, I have to get her on, and so that was a tension between the two of them. And then he said this thing about the Trinity, which might have annoyed her. And then she said, "Oh, but Jacob, with her, Nazi associations, meaning those photographs, you could get into trouble." And she was pulling out all the stops and talking about vulnerable people in their community. And I think what she meant was Christians who are still clinging to their belief in the Trinity, and she wants to protect these people.
Yeah, I don't know enough about her. You don't really have time to investigate it or care. I just like the social dynamics that exclusionary.
Yes,
You say like, okay, like I'm a grown man, like it would make friends. You're like, okay, like I'm here to social climb. I'm here to get ahead for myself, and I don't see my relationship with you helping or benefiting. So
well, I do draw
you
people
can take a social strategy. Like in a lot of places, people will just ignore you or keep you at arm's length, and versus actually exclusionary methods. And certainly in streaming, it's easy. You could just ban somebody. You could just time them
Yes,
out.
but he chooses not to, despite people like Sherry, telling him to, because I think some people are a little curious about what I have to say, and they never even allow me to just finish my sentences. They just prefer to do their dance of hatred and fear, and then claim that their feelings have been hurt and therefore I have to go.
It has nothing to do with you. I would say that you're like me, that either you have a demeanor where I don't ban people and I believe in providence. So, it's like, well, I don't really like you. I'm not really interested in you, but I believe in providence. So if, God keeps on sending you my way, I'm going to take that as a divine message or some sort of like, I don't ban anybody. And, so I would guess that if Jake's making a decision, he probably has some sort of universal principle, and it's probably not specific to you in the sense that how he's treating you is probably indicative of a principled way that he would treat anybody. But I'm not sure. I don't know the guy, but say the sense is not something you specifically caused. It's just indicative of his worldview, his universal outlook on how to deal with these situations. He's like, well, it doesn't work. I don't ban people because it doesn't work, or because
that was what he was saying. That was what he was saying basically. So to continue the story, he's organizing a conference in Chino, California, which is basically.
You told me about that. So like, I mean, you were telling me like I should go to it, and it's like, it didn't look. I mean, it looked semi-interesting, but it looked kind of like Christian, and like I was mentioned, like the science of consciousness. That's a different type conference. So like, I was kind of surprised, like, because you're telling me about this conference, and then they're not really big names. So I thought maybe just hop in and try to speak to these guys, but then I don't want to tell them like Claire sent me, and but you're saying that Paul and Jacob together are the co-organizers of this.
No, well, okay. I know that the Jacob is organising it, and the speakers there will be the ones at the last conference, which is called Consciousness and Conscience.
Jacob's the organizer of the conference.
No, he wasn't organising the other one, but anyway, the other one was in Ontario in September, I believe, and the speakers there were Jonathan Pageau and a philosophy professor called Richard Mondrell, and the other one was Paul Vander Klay. He didn't really say that much, and the big star was John Vervaeke. Have you heard of him?
Vervaeke, I've heard him. He's a big name, but
that's right. And
I don't really follow or listen to him. It's peripheral to like consciousness, but no, I haven't really followed him. But I mean, he's a relatively big name. I see it relatively often, and maybe you're the most person who's been mentioning it. But like, I think his name even pops in. Maybe he spoke to Jordan Peterson.
That's right.
but
That's right.
I don't think I've ever watched one of his interviews, but I've seen him, from.
Yeah, well, he's going to be speaking at the one in Chino. So, I don't mind giving, their thing publicity. I mean, I just thought anyone who's interested in, I don't know, mindfulness and, whatever, and basically talking about, spiritual homes for Americans. So I think it's something to do with politics, perhaps, because the last one that had Richard Mondrell talking about it was about religion, or
And more
conscience.
academically. So you share like it look you have like you said like mindfulness, and it's got like prayer sessions and a Christian bent to it. So like no, I'm not interested at all in those things. Even like from a Hindu perspective, not really. I'm more academically interested in I mean consciousness in general, but the science of consciousness, not
Have
mindfulness.
you met Luke Ford in person?
No, I haven't been on.
Well, I don't know. Okay, I,
I
I,
haven't
I,
been outside
I
of Metro
told
Detroit
Luke
since.
about it just in case he was interested. Though probably not. But I thought,
Yeah, I would say
it's not
zero
far
chance
from
Luke
him.
would be
He might
interested
be
in that.
interested. And you can just, you guys could meet or something if you wanted to.
Yeah, no, I mean, that wouldn't be for that. Like, it's not. It's like I'm not into mindfulness, and then if this one was from like a Christian perspective, like it wouldn't be.
It's vaguely political. But they don't want to say that because I don't know. I mean,
Even if it was
I don't.
Jewish, I probably wouldn't be interested. Like if it was a conference of Jewish academics, but like if it was like a Jewish retreat, meditation, wellness thing, even that wouldn't interest me. Like but I mean, because that's not the. If it was Hasidic Jews, they wouldn't have such a thing. I mean, they some Hasidic Jews do have some things that are usually commercialized, but he's saying like if Hasidic Jews, like if I wanted spirituality among Hasidic Jews, I would just go to like a Rebbe in Tish, and I could go to Stanford Hill or Borough Park or whatever. But like some sort of commercialized retreat. So
I
if
think
it
it's
was
about networking and talking to other like-minded, I guess, middle class
I
Americans
mentioned like
who come from a Christian background and are feeling
why don't you go to
confused
Italy?
and concerned about the way their country is going. It's that sort of thing, I suppose.
Yeah, so I've never done those. They don't interest me. The Science of Consciousness conference, I don't think has anything to do with wellness. It's more high level academic research. Like saying like the Royal Society, they got members of the Royal Society. Penrose, Hammerall, and mostly professors, and it's really like high level physics and biology that so I mean, just because the word consciousness is in it, and then the same word is used like consciousness and for a mindfulness retreat as for like a science conference. But I would put the Science of Consciousness conference basically it's a science conference, and it's not religious in any nature. They had Deepak Chopra who had like a meditation seminar in the morning. Optional, voluntary, a few years, but and even Deepak Chopra, he was a Harvard MD, and his brother's like the dean of Harvard Medical School. Um, so no relationship at all. But it would have been interesting to speak to Paul. Like I wouldn't mind. I mean, it would have even been interesting to speak to Jacob, and just so it was a little ironic that that's what they were talking about. But I mean, Jacob, if he's a Jewish scholar or does interfaith, I wouldn't mind speaking to him or Paul, especially if he was speaking about like cults or something. I'm not trying to break into any circles. I'm trying to find people that are interested in what I'm interested in. Um, and you can play like
Mhm.
a little ball in networking, build up numbers, but and I guess
Yeah, well, you know what I'm trying to do,
but
don't
my
you? I
interests are
mean,
wider because
you
I
know
guess
what I'm trying to do, don't you?
well, yeah, man, but you're much more narrow and limited because you're basically building up something that is your own creation that
Yeah, well,
has a
you
lot
know,
of
obviously,
pushback from
I
other
want them
people.
to discuss secular Quranism at their Chino conference because
I mean, I have interests that are. I'm not necessarily. I have multiple true life paths, so I'm not necessarily pushing anything unique on my own, and I have interests that are minor enough that I'm reaching out into the metaverse, the internet world to find people, but things like the science of consciousness, the history of science, the Royal Society, Kabbalah, spirituality, that relatively, I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands of people. There's a lot of people across the world that are interested in these subjects, as opposed to you got your own unique thing that you're pushing. That I mean, God bless you. Maybe you'll build up and get followers and get. But I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's
Well,
a little bit
I
different.
do have a specific object,
I was saying like,
and this is what
well,
I'm doing.
maybe there's no difference. I mean, saying like, okay, there's some random woman, Claire Khaw, who's got this idea of secular chronism. You're interested, you want to hear about it, and as opposed to like Duvid, he's talking about the philosophy of science. You want to talk about
Yeah, yeah.
the philosophy of
There's sort of no.
scientism.
I mean, obviously, it's a kind of it's to do with politics, and you prefer non-political matters. But yes, that's what I'm trying to do. That's a circle I'm trying to break in. I was talking to Vincent earlier, and he seemed to be
Why are you trying
thinking
to
I
break
was
in?
moving too fast.
Why don't we, if you're trying to, I mean, if you're a smart woman, I mean, I give the example like, I mean, if you kind of play ball, but your goal is to push what you're pushing, and whatever it is, like so to say, like you could be like an annoying insurance agent, and so it's every time the opportunity comes in, like I think, well, do you have life insurance? Have you thought about buying life insurance or something like that? And the person
Jacob
could,
used to do that. He was
yeah,
a broker.
I mean, it's a very common Jewish profession. But I'm just saying that if you're, you could pretend like you're interested or breaking into circles, but you're not really interested. You're only minorly interested. You just want to sell them life insurance. And if you want to put like secular chronism, like you're going to pretend to be interested. You might have minor interest, but at the end of the day, you want to promote what you're promoting. So it's like
Of
a synagogue
course.
or something, you come in and it's like, well, you could come in and participate in the synagogue, but you can't promote anything else. Like you're here to do Jewish stuff and you can't promote Christianity or secular chronism or anything. It's not the time and place for it. And so I mean, a lot of people probably feel like that in their general interactions. I might like a little curiosity, but like they don't want to be. They're not really interested in, or they know what they're interested in. They're not necessarily interested in
No,
trying to
no.
be.
I mean, I know those people are Islamophobes, and they don't, and Americans
Well, I'm
just
saying
don't.
you're going to put a pejorative on it, but it's saying
Yeah, yeah, I
they're not
am
open.
because
They're not
obviously
open
they
to.
don't like it, they hate it, and they're going to reject it. I get it,
Yeah, and
but
so they don't want to hear about it as much.
all I'm looking for is for somebody to actually give sound reasons other than I don't care for it, I don't like it, and leave it
Well,
at
that's just
that.
normal. That's what I'm
I mean,
saying.
I'm
Like,
just
okay, like
been
I could be
wondering
friends with an insurance
maybe there
agent.
is just somebody who is capable of dealing with it in a rational way, other than I hate it, I don't think it's going to happen, you know.
Well,
So,
just saying that
I mean,
I'm not
obviously,
interested
after
in it.
all these
So
years,
if our
there's not a
relationship is
single
dependent
public
upon you,
intellectual who is capable of dealing with it on those terms.
because you're framing in your own terminology, just saying like,
Yeah,
okay, I don't
I am.
mind being friends with you, but
And
I'm
if
not
people think
interested
it's
in what you're
shit,
interested in.
then they can give a reason rather than rambling on all over the place
Yeah,
saying,
but
"Oh,
you
I
have to.
don't care."
You're too caught up in you're just saying like, okay, like I don't mind being your friend, but I'm not really interested in that. So if we
Yeah,
could
I mean, if you would
compartmentalize our
just let
friendship
me tell the story
and
without
just say as long
constant
as
interruptions, then I would be, over and out more quickly. I mean, you wanted me to tell the story, and you keep interrupting it with all your rambling. So, and now we're here, and nobody even remembers the story.
yeah. So well, so I guess anything else you wanted to say?
Yes, and I'm saying, obviously, I want to get them talking about it because they have no other solution. They're rambling all over the place. They know they can't use Christianity. There is no possibility of getting a Christian amendment to declare the American Republic to be a Christian country, because it's not going to happen, because, even the white people who started the whole thing don't believe in it. And, Americans have no official religion, and which is why most of them are neurotic and confused and depressed and suicidal. But there's no,
you're not interested. You're
capable of discussing it rationally.
Are you saying that your basic only interest is promoting your secular Quranism, that you're not really interested in being part of their club or community? You're interested in promoting what you want to promote, and if it doesn't work, you're going to move on.
No, there's not that many places for me to move on to. What I do is, I go to their channel, I talk to them, and some of them are receptive and some of them are not. And some of them feel very threatened, and some of them think I might have something to say. But it is just the way Jacob manages everything, because he does catastrophize everything. And I don't know if you saw that video, he was crying. And then he on Discord.
Jacob, I don't need to. I mean, I don't have anything against you either. Just saying, if it's not interested, not interested. The world's a big place, so move on. And
I mean, are you going to let me finish the story without constant interruptions?
Yeah, because I'm not really interested in hearing you say bad things about Jacob. I don't know the guy. I don't care for your sort of say gossip about him.
It's not gossip. It's just my opinion. If people don't agree with me,
that opinion.
then that's fine. But I'm trying to explain the situation.
I don't care about your opinion about him. If you say just the facts, your opinions about him.
Okay, the fact is that on Discord, I asked if he'd like it if I attended a conference. So, okay, this is an exchange, and he said yes. So I was a bit nonplussed because I wasn't expecting that. And now it seems he's changed his mind. I don't know. Most people there seem to be, a little inconsistent, a little moody, a little emotional, to say the least. And I'm saying that they're quite hard to deal with, really, because I don't know what, instead of just saying, right, what do you have to say? What's your thing? And go through the thing methodically. They just want to, go around with their heads chopped off, being hysterical and denouncing each other. And, I don't know.
Yeah, just a lot of repeating. That's why I said, Charles Moskowitz, it's just a lot of people repeating each other's and restating their opinions. So
yeah.
If it's just I know what you say, I know what you think, and I disagree. And we're
what is there to disagree with? Do you think I'm telling a lie or something? Do you think I'm lying?
Well, I'm not going to impugn your motives or something like that.
Okay, I'm telling you what happened. It's my weekend review. It's my weekend review, right?
I don't think that any. I'm not judging whether people are good or bad people.
Okay, you asked me here to give you my weekend review, and now you don't like it, or you keep interrupting so I can't tell you my story, and then you want to criticize
because you
me
keep on throwing gossip into your story.
Well, I have to tell you the situation about him saying, yes, you'll be very welcome at the Gino conference. And then, I don't know what the situation is now. And this is the situation. I'm happy to leave it at that.
You have speculations about people's motives or the way that they
feel. I don't know what the hell they're on about.
That's not the facts. So your speculations about the motivations of people.
Well, okay, I'm saying I don't know. All right, I'm not even speculating.
Irrelevant. It's kind of just like a waste of time. It's not, so just the facts.
Yeah, I've told you the facts. I've told you what happened. I don't know the reason. I suspect it's neurosis, but who am I to know?
Yeah, obviously you could speculate, have your opinion, but I don't know. You don't know, so it doesn't seem worthwhile to talk about. And generally streaming in general, that it's tough to get into a repetitive situation where people are just talking for whatever reason, talking to have human interaction, and it's repetitive because people say the same thing again and again and again, and each time. So there's very little new content, and one of the biggest problems is, so it's imputing motives or some sort of conjecture, subjective analysis of what people might be feeling or their character, or then some sort of statement of whether they're good or bad people. And so generally I avoid that. I think it's unproductive, largely a waste of time, and hinders progress. So
Progress towards what?
Advancement towards goals.
What goals
Jonathan
are we
Haidt.
to have in these exchanges?
Well, generally, I try to have morally neutral conversations, or not trying, not good or bad, moral or amoral, or whether people are, so just like like what people are doing, what their ideas are, network,
I'm interested in that.
who they're streaming with, but you throw in a lot of conjectures about good and bad, and motivations and feelings that
Because I'm interested in psychology, as I believe you are.
well, I'm interested in psychology too, but
You're interested in behaviorism, aren't you?
yeah, but it doesn't mean I want to necessarily like psychoanalyze every single person I talk about. I'm sure like the science.
Well, I mean, that's the only way of
the
making
science of
psychology interesting,
in
isn't it?
general. I occasionally do psychoanalysis and digressions into what people might be motivated by or feeling, but it doesn't mean that I want to throw that in with every single conversation. I say that's not just the facts. So psychology interests me, but when I'm talking about something, I'm not going to throw in my interest in psychology because that's not just the facts.
Well, it's a fact that you're interested in psychology, as am I. Was there anything? Have there been any developments in psychology?
It doesn't mean I'm interested in your psychoanalysis of every person that you mention.
I wasn't proposing to psychoanalyze anyone. I thought you wanted to discuss what behaviorism, and what's the other thing that you wanted to talk about?
Was this 33? I got someone backstage. Not sure if that AMC too. So why don't I move on? I'm going to move on for the show, and so thanks for coming on, Claire, and be in touch, in contact.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. I'm not sure if this 33.
Hello, can you